1 year ago, Italy was in chaos. The political earthquake of the biggest series of corruption scandals ever seen had shaken the whole country topsy-turvy. The police, far from controlling demonstrations, were out there demonstrating themselves. On the streets of Rome this spring, nothing and everything has changed. The left-wing unions are still out there chanting slogans about liberation and workers' rights. But after 50 years of privileged access to the corridors of Italian power, this year the socialists and communists in organised labour have lost their inside track.
Con pari dignità, con tutti gli onori saranno ricevuti a Palazzo Chigi, noi intanto diciamo.
The new industrial power is here, with the fascist union known as Cisnal.
E non può essere assorbito.
For the first time since the end of the war, they find themselves with access to power at the highest level. Preferring to be known by the image makers term post-fascists, they were preparing for their first meeting with Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi.
I nostri propositi sono positivi, sono costruttivi e sono responsabili. Sono però anche consapevoli e con questi sentimenti ci accingeremo all'incontro di martedì con il Presidente del Consiglio incaricato.
Everyone knew the old order in Italy had to change, but none last year predicted that the upheaval would give power to Silvio Berlusconi. He was known for his tacky TV stations and his financial empire, not his politics. But none predicted he would create a new party, then put it into coalition with the fascists who'd been out of power for 50 years. Yet that's what happened on election night, and however the leadership dressed it up with talk about post-fascism and democracy, the young fascists in the street knew they had won. Only after the fact have Italians really started to worry about what they did at the polling booths last month. At this rock concert in Rome, more than 100,000 turned out for democracy and against fascism. But despite their numbers, these are the minority now.
The analysis of the electoral vote, the youngsters have voted 40% left and 45% Berlusconi or fascist. This is extremely dangerous.
With 5 senior ministers in the cabinet, the fascist leader Gianfranco Fini is a canny player of the political game. He's changed the party's name to the innocuous National Alliance, and he's careful to talk of reconciliation and democracy. But truth may lie under the surface. The National Alliance control a majority on Rome's city council. Their council leader says he's a convinced Democrat.
E siamo la garanzia della democrazia perché noi crediamo nella democrazia quando questa non diventi la democrazia dei partiti e dei sindacati, ma sia la democrazia del popolo.
Yet this was the same man who was shown on TV recently commemorating the dead who fell in the march on Rome that brought Mussolini to absolute power.
Caduti della marcia su Roma! Caduti della marcia su Roma!
No surprise then to find Rome's young Green Party mayor right in the fascist council's firing line, trying to woo back the young vote. Even among the young at this concert, there was little sense of urgency about the fascist threat. The politics was sweetened with comedy, with Prime Minister Berlusconi seen as a TV Caesar.
Miracoli, dove sono questi miracoli?
You promised miracles, she asks. Where are they? The miracle, he replies, it's that I've got control of state TV.
In Italy, what's happening is a new fascism, a new way of fascism.
The media revision of Italian history has already begun. It's 50 years since the Germans pulled out of Italy, helped on their way by the odd punch from the local population. The Americans were coming and democracy was on the way. Italian TV marked the anniversary by showing for the first time the corpse of the fascist dictator Benito Mussolini, strung up after death alongside his lover, Claretta Petacci. If it had happened in previous years, nothing good would have been said about the late dictator. Now, with the fascists inside the government, state TV invited the party's veteran ideologue, Gianno Acame, to comment on the footage. His praise for Mussolini caused a storm, but he's unrepentant.
Ma certamente resterà come il più grande uomo politico italiano di questo secolo. Insomma, fra 100 anni credo che sarà difficile ricordare un altro nome che Mussolini.
So seductive was the power of fascist images and fascist ideology that even when all was lost, hundreds of thousands of Italians refused to give up on their beloved Duce. From the last-ditch stronghold of Salò, the so-called Italian Social Republic, they continued to help the Nazis resist the Allied advance. Also showing on Italian TV for the first time this spring, the American film of what happened to the fascist saboteurs who got caught. These were fascist commandos who'd been caught and court-martialed, blowing bridges and railway tracks behind Allied lines. Again, there was outrage at the way the executions were presented. No mention that they were fanatics for a brutal and dictatorial regime, just the comment that they and the partisans who fought against Mussolini were all equal in death. And again, the fascist ideologue Gianno Acame was there to create the new mythology.
Questi erano degli eroi della Repubblica Sociale Italiana, una repubblica che aveva 800.000 uomini in armi e alcuni di loro andavano operazioni di sabotaggio oltre le linee, erano ragazzi particolarmente coraggiosi e entusiasti, insomma, e che sono morti da Prodi, come si è chiaramente visto nei filmati. Non potevo definirli altrimenti che eroi.
They were Nazis. They accepted to go all the way with the Nazis. And they did terrible things in the north. Terrible things happened. In the rest of Europe, 70–75% of the Jews were destroyed and the rest survived. Here, 25–30% were destroyed and the rest survived. But that doesn't make the story any better. Terrible things happened here too.
In some parts of Italy, the new fascism is already putting down roots. A year ago, for Foreign Correspondent, I visited the town of Chieti in Abruzzo to witness the spectacle of a community where the entire local government was either under arrest or under investigation. It was a microcosm of what Italy was then, a nation drowning in a sea of scandal. My guide to Chieti last year was an elderly and obsessive anti-corruption fighter named Nicola Cucullo, who happened to be a member of the fascist party. Now, the eccentric outsider is in power. Nicola Cucullo is the new mayor of Chieti, elected last December in a landslide vote. And here in provincial Italy, where the image makers have yet to reach, the soothing phrases of so-called post-fascism haven't yet caught on.
Io sono un mussoliniano, se vuole la risposta. Sono un fascista mussoliniano, badi bene, molto importante. Sono tutti positivi, tranne la guerra. La guerra non la si doveva fare, ma purtroppo è stato costretto a farla. E qui è il punto.
Fascism thrives on a combination of political chaos and economic disaster, and Chieti had both. The system of kickbacks on projects like the hospital, unfinished 30 years after it started, has bled the city dry, As Mayor Cuculo points out, Chieti does have assets which can be sold. The town hall paintings and furniture, for example. Reluctantly, they'll have to go.
Queste miniature in legno sono opere del 1700 di valore inestimabile, perché sono fatti a mano dagli artisti dell'epoca.
But even on the most optimistic projections, Chieti'll still be massively in debt. The only solution Cuculo can come up with, a public money rescue package from the new right-wing government in Rome.
Mancherà una differenza. Questa differenza dovrà essere ripianata con l'intervento del finanziamento dello Stato. Era la giungla.
Giungla?
Giungla. Poi invece i fiori.
Mussolini made the trains run on time. Nicola Cuculo cleaned up the Chieti cemetery.
Prima il cimitero era diventato una cosa orribile.
Come? Perché?
Per l'incuria. Nessuno provvedeva a pulire, nessuno provvedeva a sistemare.
Respect for the dead is just one of the old virtues Cuculo wants to get back to. A child in the Mussolini era, his politics are based on nostalgia for a time when government was simple, clear, and above all, tough.
Il polso duro, ecco, ordine, diritti e doveri, diritti e doveri. Il cittadino deve abituarsi a reclamare prima di tutto i doveri e poi i diritti. Invece qui è accaduto il contrario, tutti i diritti e nessun dovere. Bisogna ritornare alle origini e questa è storia purtroppo, è storia. E la storia descrive nei secoli i ritorni di quei regimi che sono stati retti e seppur con la dittatura, se vogliamo. E quindi siete colpevoli di aver devastato il...
The man who, as mayor, now visits Chieti's schools to lecture them about the importance of cleanliness and right living is the same whose alleged views on Hitler caused a storm recently in the national press. Mayor Cuculo was quoted as saying Hitler was the most intelligent man of the century, and his mistake with the Jews was not to have fried them all. Cuculo's response to the controversy? An attack on the journalist who wrote the story.
Nessuna controversia, nessuna versione. E lui che è ebreo è figlio di ebrea e quindi era ospite a tavola con i sindaci eletti con il simbolo della fiamma e quindi non ha fatto altro che provocare.
But did you say what you were reported to have said?
Quel giornalista non solo ha giocato in maniera ignobile, ma tenta ancora di sollevare gli odi fra gli ebrei e i non ebrei, è chiaro. La politica, tant'è vero che se lei accende la televisione tutte le sere, tutti i giorni, non fanno altro che proiettare film nazisti, film dell'Olocausto, questo lo fanno sempre in periodo elettorale.
The citizens of Chieti, out for the traditional passeggiata or evening stroll, appear remarkably unfazed by their new fascist mayor.
C'è molta più correttezza, c'è molto più rispetto nei confronti delle persone. Di qui però a parlare di quello che la giunta potrà fare, di quelle che sono le idee politiche che rappresentano, su questo penso che ancora non si può dare un giudizio perché non ha ancora l'opportunità di potersi esprimere al meglio, insomma.
Le cose sì, sembrano che cambiano, ma in fondo non è che cambiano così tanto. Le elezioni devono essere cose che avrebbe risolto tutto, ma quando poi sta a finire a complicare le cose. Speriamo non ci sono state tante.
Stiamo in attesa di sviluppo di opere migliori, perlomeno una speranza, come si dice, che le cose andranno meglio, ecco.
On the national level, Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi and his Forza Italia party may appear equally complacent about the fascists' entry into their government. But all the party's MPs, like Fabrizio Del Noce, are brand new and have nothing but their confidence to confront a disciplined political force like the fascists.
The guarantee Forza Italia Liberal Party can give is bit more than the threat given by the former supporters of the fascism.
So you've got them under control, essentially, that's what you're saying.
Yes, the control, but the democracy is really strong in our country.
For all the assurances, the fact remains. Silvio Berlusconi has broken the great post-war taboo of Western European politics and let fascists into government for the first time in 50 years. The outside world will continue to watch for the consequences.